In second grade, my teacher, Mrs. Drum, told the class that we could be whatever we wanted to be when we grew up. Unfortunately, it's taken me over 50 years to realize that what she said is true. After listening to some of the recent debates and looking at the list of candidates from both parties, I decided now is the time for me to throw my hat into the ring to become the 45th President of the United States. My platform is fairly simple. Let's bring back traditional values to the United States and do it with common sense, courtesy, and compassion. My name is Michael Muchortow, alias the Mooch. Well, how did that whole mooch thing come up? Well, some people would argue it's because I mooched a lot off of my friends while I was young, but the real reason is that most people couldn't pronounce my last name. So I wanted to share a little background about myself. I was born in 1957 in Detroit, Michigan to two immigrant parents, and I do have my birth certificate to prove that. I did grow up in the inner city of Detroit through 9th grade, and that included the time of the Detroit riots in 1967. I attended University of Michigan on a scholarship, and in 1978 I received a degree in business with a major in accounting. I began my career in 1978 with a large international public accounting firm and spent 23 years there. I've been a certified public accountant, or CPA, since 1981. After leaving public accounting with the large firm in 2003, I started my own small practice that focuses on taxes and financial planning. On a personal note, I've been married for 34 years, and it's important to say to the same woman. I do have 4 children, ranging in age from 25 to 31. Unfortunately, 2 of them became bean counters just like their dad. But I still live in the metro Detroit area. I have 2 small grandkids, and I enjoy a lot of things, but a couple of the things I really enjoy are golf and basketball. And I would say that's probably where my similarities to President Obama end. I also consider myself to be a man of faith. I attend church regularly, and I would consider myself to be a devout Christian. So that's a little bit about my background. I don't really know about any skeletons or scandals in my background, but I'm sure that my opponents and the press will find them. My main focus really as the president, as your president, is to serve our country. I really don't consider the presidency to be a job or a career. It's really a calling, and it's based on serving with an emphasis on traditional values and common sense, courtesy, and compassion. You're probably dying to know what my political affiliation is. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm certainly tired of all the finger pointing and dysfunction between and within the parties. And as a result, I think the only way to be independent is to run as an independent, and I could then spend my time collaborating and solving problems. So that's what I plan to do, is run as an independent. Now, from a full disclosure standpoint, I am more conservative than I am liberal. So what you're getting is a middle-aged, middle-class, and middle of the political spectrum person. Now, I did want to share a few of my positions on various issues, some of them which are hot buttons today. Let's start with gun control. I'll be honest with you, I don't own a gun and have never owned one, and I do believe that a better vetting process needs to be put in place before people could own guns. However, I do think the Second Amendment, which allows people to keep and bear arms, needs to be retained. As an example, let me cite the recent terrorist activities and innocent killings in France. As most of you know, France really has some of the most restrictive gun controls in the world. Basically, you're not able to bear arms. Yet that did not stop these mass killings from occurring. Let me tell you this, I believe that terrorists and radical extremists are not deterred by laws and regulations. Their whole goal is to kill innocent people. So the bottom line is, today we need to protect fellow Americans first from terrorists and have them protect themselves if necessary. And on a secondary issue, we need to address gun control. Let me mention that with respect to gun control, I don't believe that's the only issue we're dealing with. I think some of the senseless killings in the United States that have happened over the past few years also involve mental health issues. And for us to really address it, it has to be more than just the issue of gun controls. We need to broaden that and get all the aspects together and coming up with ways to really stop some of this senseless killing. I know that everyone doesn't like talking about taxes, but taxes are a big issue. We really haven't had any changes to our tax code for a long time. And really, people aren't so much upset about paying taxes, they're upset that they don't think everyone pays their fair share. So here's what my plan would be. For individuals, we would reduce the vast number of tax brackets to only 3. We'd have a 10% bracket, a 15% bracket, and a 25% bracket. We would increase the exemption allowance, which is currently at $4,000 to $5,000 per individual. And rather than have itemized deductions, which we know are a big deal now, we would just go with a standard deduction of $10,000 for singles and $20,000 for marrieds. The only real area that would still allow itemized deductions would be charitable giving. And those would be allowed with some level of restrictions based on income and other factors. Capital gains and dividends would be taxed at a 20% rate. That is an increase from the 15%, but it's a decrease for some people who are paying more than that. And the alternative minimum tax, also known as AMT, would be eliminated. Another big change, and this is what I'm really proposing, is that everyone in the United States would pay some level of federal income tax. Most of you know that probably about 40% of people do not pay federal income tax. Now, they do pay state tax, they may pay sales tax, they may pay Social Security tax, but they don't pay federal income tax. So what I'm proposing is that everyone would pay at least 5% of their gross income in taxes. So the number would be the greater of the 5% of gross income, or the computation based on your taxable income using the tax brackets I previously mentioned. My main thought process is that all Americans benefit from the infrastructure that exists in the U.S., the military expenses that we incur to keep ourselves safe and free. And so I believe that having everyone contribute to a tax, even at a small level, will help the country reduce the deficit and make things much easier for us when we do need some significant spending to occur. With respect to estate taxes, I think our current estate tax system is fine, and I would not propose any changes to that. In terms of corporate taxes, I do think we need to reduce the corporate tax. I would have 2 tax brackets, 15% and 25%, and that would be it. And we'd have to find ways for companies to want to bring back profits into the U.S., which currently with the tax structure, they're finding all sorts of ways not to do that. I also think that we need to give tax incentives and benefits for people and companies that are on the leading edge with innovation and ingenuity, because we need to continue to be leaders, and we need to really make this a partnership between the public and private, and the public partnership would be in the form of tax incentives and tax benefits to the company and people who are on the leading edge of innovation and ingenuity. Next is Social Security. It'll come to no surprise to most of you that everyone is predicting that Social Security is going to go broke. And what we continue to do is just kick the can down the road. Now, when Social Security came into existence, the lifespan for people was much shorter than it is today. We also have a big population of baby boomers like myself that are soon going to be eligible for Social Security. So what's my plan? Well, here's what I propose, that the people who are over 50 today will continue under the current system. That lets you retire as early and receive Social Security as 62, and full Social Security would be somewhere between 65 and 67. So we're going to keep it the same for those people, since they're quite advanced in terms of their work years. For people under 50, we're going to have to implement some new rules. Early Social Security will be at 65 years of age, and full Social Security would be at 70 years of age. I know that's not an easy solution, but it's better to change it now while we could fund it than having to take it away from people later. With respect to Medicare, we would continue with the same eligibility as today, which is people can qualify for Medicare at 65 years of age. Now, the current Social Security and Medicare rates need to change. Quite candidly, they need to go up if we want the Social Security and the Medicare systems to be sustained. Currently, you pay 6.2 if you're an employee for Social Security and 1.45% for Medicare, and the employer matches those amounts. I propose that we increase the Social Security contribution to 6.7% and the Medicare to 1.75%. This brings the total from our current of 7.65 to 8.45. This extra funding is needed if we want to continue to be able to pay at our current Social Security rates, and it will then be sustained for generations to come. Now, the one other thing about Social Security, currently if you make over $118,500, the 6.2 contribution to Social Security stops. I'm proposing that that amount gets increased to $150,000. We currently do not have a cap for the Medicare contribution, and I agree that we need to continue with no cap on that portion. Another hot issue, obviously, is illegal immigrants. What do we do about it? Certainly a difficult situation. But here's my plan. I would allow that any illegal folks who are currently in the country have a chance to identify themselves and get an opportunity to become legal residents. Not citizens, no, they'd still have to go through that process if they want to be a citizen, but they would be legal residents. So we'll do some background checks on these people, and if there's no criminal history or if they haven't caused any problems, they'll have an opportunity to become legal residents. And what we're hoping is we could integrate them into our country. They need to pay taxes, and they won't be eligible for entitlement programs that they're currently getting. I think one of the problems, obviously, with illegal people in our country is we have many small businesses and individuals paying these people cash, and so they're not on the books or records. That needs to stop. So there needs to be some self-policing among those people. I realize that that means small businesses might have to pay more wages, but we really have to control it at that level as well. Now, how do we protect our borders? I don't think building a wall is the solution, but I do think we have some great satellite technology. We may need to enhance it a little bit, but that's the way to really control it, and anyone who gets caught needs to be punished severely. That's the only way this is going to work. All right, I've shared a lot with you, but let me summarize my 5 top priorities if I were to serve this country. The first would to come up with strategies to control and really demolish ISIS. That would be number 1. Number 2 is we would make our tax system simpler and more equitable for everybody, and everyone needs to put skin into the game. 3, we're going to modify the Social Security and Medicare systems to make them more sustainable for generations to come. 4, we really need to address student loans. Student debt, it's a big problem, and so is financial literacy for children of school age. We need to do a better job there, and that would be a priority. And last is we need to develop some programs and strategies to help seniors with long-term care. So I realize there's other big things, but that's more than a president could bite off in 4 years, and that is what I propose to you as the top 5 priorities that need to be addressed if I were to serve you. Why have I decided to run for president? Well, I've decided in my heart that running this country and doing an effective job is too important of a task for career politicians. I'm not the richest guy, and I'm not the smartest candidate, but I will strive to do one thing, and that's to be the most honest candidate in the field. Am I qualified? I don't know if anyone's qualified to be the President of the United States, but I do know this: you got to get together a team of smart and competent people, and you need to have people who are passionate about serving the United States, and as a team, we'll come up with the answers and solve the problems that need to be taken care of. If you believe in traditional values, and those need to be maintained in our great country, and agree that a leader needs to have common sense, courtesy, and compassion in carrying out the responsibilities of president, then I encourage you to join me and help me to become the first independent and the 45th president of these great United States. We can make a difference. God bless you, and God bless America.